Hello everyone, I'm Sharanya PS. In the previous session, I have already discussed about introduction to Swing, how we can install Eclipse IDE and adding new plugin called as Windows Builder to the Eclipse environment. In this session, I will be covering simple Java Swing program, event handling and some of the J components with example program. This is one of the very simple Swing application program. Here, first line says import java x.swing.start. All the Swing related classes usually referred as Swing's component are defined within the extended package of the Java called as java x.swing. The first and foremost thing when we write any of the program, first we have to add the packages which is required for that program. So here all the Swing related classes are defined within the extended package of the Java called as java x.swing. That's why if we write any of the Swing program, we have to add this package. Next, the class is given by the name Hello World Swing. The class is created with the main function and the new first container that we have created is called as a JFrame. GUIs normally contain a collection of units. These are called as a JFrame. JFrame is also a class defined in java x.swing package. JFrame acts as a basic container which holds a group of components like text field, buttons, etc. This acts as a small window-like structure. Upon that, we can add any of the other components. So, first and foremost thing, when we build any of the Java application, we have to add the JFrame. Next, after that, we have created something as a J label. It is also comes under J component. We have just created a container now. Next step is to add the component to it. What is a component? Component is an individual visual control such as it may be buttons or text fields or some labels. All Swing components are derived from J component class. These components are represented by a classes defined within the package java x.swing. Here we are defined the next component called as J label. And we are passing one text called as hello world. The same hello world Swing text is passed to JFrame as well. This hello world Swing is considered as a title for the frame. The label that we are given now is a hello world. Next, the object that we have created for this JFrame is by the name frame. And the object created for the J label is a label. Those, as I mentioned, first we are created the frame. To that frame, we need to add the label. That's why we are writing the next line. Frame dot add label. To this frame, we have to add the label that we have created just now. Next step, frame dot, we have to whenever we are creating the frame, the window will be displayed with close and minimize and maximize buttons in that. After, when we click on that close button, what is the operation supposed to be performed is written in the function called as set default close operation. In that, we are passing the method called as exit on close. That is, JFrame need to terminate when the user is clicking the close button. There is also some other methods like disable on close, and some of the other methods can also be used whenever it is necessary to perform the different operations. Next, form dot set size. Here we are setting the form's size, that is width into height is given. And next final step is to we have to make this form visible to the end user. Normally this form will be in a disabled manner. So here we have to pass through so that the form will be visible to the user end. Next step, here when we execute this program, we will be getting a frame like this with hello world string as a title with the label hello world. Along with that, there is close and minimize and maximize button in the menu section where we will be getting the title of the swing. This is how we can build a very simple Java swing program. Java x.swing is derived from java.awt package, which is also provide many other components. As we discussed in the previous session, this java.x.swing is a platform independent. We will see what does it mean. Now, parallelly, we will execute one simple Java program. So, what is this platform dependent and platform independent with respect to this Java Swing application? Here, suppose if we are using Java x.swing, then it says that it is a platform independent. If we are using java.awt, then it says it is a platform dependent. Means whenever execute the Java application in any platform, then component creation logic is based on the native code. That is, depending on the current operating system, whichever it is running in that system. Suppose if the OS is a Windows, then the component that is need to be created should be dependent on .NET code. This creation logic is based on the .NET approach itself. That is why this AWT package is called as a platform dependent. Whereas Java x.swing package is purely platform independent component. All these components building logic is completely based on Java language and it is not dependent on the native code. That is what we have already in the previous session. We have found the difference between Java AWT class and Swing's Java x.swing package. This is the one major difference, platform dependent and platform independent. I have opened the Eclipse IDE. How we can create a new Swing application. First, we have to go to File, then New and Java project. And then some name we can give here. First, Swing application I will be giving. Swing application. I have given the name and then I will be clicking on Finish button so that it will create the project for us. And here next step, Swing application is being created here. And we go to source and here right click and click on new and here we have to create a new class and here I have to give the name for that. Any first frame I am going to create, so that's why I will be giving the name as first frame. So now a new class has been created by the name first frame. So first and foremost thing, we have to import the package Java x.swing with the .star and next we have to, the function class is already defined. Inside the class we can write the main function void main. We have followed the same procedure what we are followed in the string, and we are taking the arguments any past values, and next we are building the code inside this. First and foremost thing, we have to create the JFrame. For that we are creating one object by using the new keyword, and we are passing the text. Suppose if we want to write any title for the frame, then we can write it in this particular place, or else we can pass in the later session later as well. Then after that I want to create one label by the name JLabel is a class, and I will be creating one object, and I will be creating the new JLabel, and the name I will be referring it as first string application. This is the name it is given. After that I will need to add this form dot add. This is the function I am using. To this form I need to add this label. To the container I am trying to add the component. Then I have to set the visibility of the form. So I need to use form set visible, and I will be passing it as true. Set visible true. Then set, after that I can set some size for that. So the function form dot set size, I am giving length into width into height, x comma y, it says 300 comma 300. Randomly we can give. After that depending on the requirement we can make the changes. And suppose if we want to set any form location where it is supposed to be displayed, then we can set location, and I am giving the location as in the very beginning 100 comma 50, so that it will be displayed on that particular location itself. And lastly I will be what is the operation it is supposed to do when I click on close button. So I will be mentioning set default close operation what I will need to do, and the different methods it will be throwing. One among that is I have to refer all this by using JFrame is the class I am referring. So here after that we will be exit on close, hand cursor, and dispose on close, default cursor. So many methods we will get. Any one option we can choose from that. I will be using exit on close. This is the method what it is supposed to perform. This is created a simple form by one label inside that form. Now to execute I will be directly clicking on the run first frame. So we got the very first swing application with frame here and the label first swing application, and when I click on this close button, the complete program will be terminating and it is coming out of that, exiting from the program. This is one example program. Next, if we see one more program as it is discussed in your textbook. First one, here we are trying to import the Java X, almost similar to the same program that we have discussed just now. some other parameters here we have to look into. First thing is importing your Java X Swing package, and the function name, class name here it is given as first Swing demo, and here the constructor is created to add all the different components to the class. And JFrame is the first component. It is a topmost level component. It is created with title as a simple swing application, and the form size is set, and then default operation what it is supposed to perform. And here one more label is also created, and that label is added onto the form. Since a component is the first top level interface, it is getting created. Upon that, all the container is the first level, components are added upon it, and set visibility is set to true. Swing programs are all event driven. Event means we know already, like if we click on some mouse or if we move our cursor, these are all called as events. When a user interacts with a component, an event will be generated. An event is passed to the application by calling an event handler defined by the application. So here we will look into what is this method. So an event is passed to the application by calling, as I mentioned, event handler defined by the application. If any changes are done in the GUI, it needs to be done in a single thread manner. That thread is called as an event dispatch thread. If changes are done by some other thread, then it invoke later method is called. Here we are using one method called as an invoke later, which will tell that it can make changes to the GUI even using multiple threads. It will be called internally. Event handler is executed on the event dispatching thread provided by the Swing, not on the main thread of the application. Here main is executed on the main thread. Thus, my main cannot directly instantiate the Swing demo object. Instead, it must create a runnable object that execute on the event dispatching thread, and how this object creates the GUI. So, to enable the GUI code to be created on the event dispatching thread, here invoke later method is defined. It is defined under Swing utilities. So instead of this invoke later, some other functions like invoke and wait can also be used. In a summary, if we refer, we cannot run only with the main thread. We have to create one more thread, so which will be called as a dispatching, like event dispatch thread need to be created. For that purpose, we will be invoking one more method called as a invoke later. And here a object is created inside that, and then after that see when the push button is pressed, that generates an action event, and then it performs any of the operation. Here first demo is the object which is created for the Swing, first Swing demo. Inside the one more function. So that is what, like if we want to run any of the functions, then we cannot run over the single main thread. Rather, we have to create one more runnable thread that we are invoking by using the method called as invoke later, so that if any changes are done later on in the GUI, that will be notified by using this invoke later thread, whichever it is created. This is how we can add one special parameter to the code. If we execute this, we will be getting the one label along with the form what we have created. Frame what we have created. This is one simple example code what we have just now checked. If we proceed with the next topic, what is meant by an event? Event, just now we have referred, that is change in the state of the object is normally called as a event. It is an action performed on the components. Events are normally like generated as a result of user interaction with the GUI component, maybe like mouse button click or cursor movement or any scroll up and scroll down. These are all called as a event. Any object can be notified of the event. These events can be classified into two types, one as a foreground event and one more as a background event. Foreground event in the sense if any if user interactions will be performed directly and if data is sent from the user end, then it is called as a foreground events. Background events in the sense these event does not require the interaction of the end user. Operating system interruptions or any hardware or software failure, these we call it as a background events. Whenever event occurs, the corresponding event handler is needed. What is this event handling or event handler? Event handling is a mechanism that controls the event and decides what should happen if an event occurs. This mechanism has a code which is known as an event handler that is executed when an event occurs. Java follows the delegation event model to handle the events. So here this delegation event model has majorly two different components. One we refer as an event source and one more as an event listener. What is this event source? The source is an object on which the event occurs. Source is responsible for providing the information of the occurred event to its handler. Whereas event listener is also known as a event handler. What does it mean? The listener is responsible for generating a response to an event. The listener waits till it receives an event. Once the event is received, the listener processes the event and then returns the returns. There will be so many event listeners like action listener, text listener or mouse listener. That is like some of the methods that need to be performed when an event occurs. These event listeners are defined under Java awt.event.packages and which is also stored under Java x.swing.event package. Here the major steps that need to be followed whenever the event occurs. First, some event will be triggered, maybe like a mouse button click or mouse click, any kind. Then the event will be recognized or identified, notified. The object of concerned event class is created, and then the information about the source and the event need to be sent to the same object from where the event has generated. Then event object is forwarded to the method of the registered listener class. Then method gets executed and returns. In the sense, in the simple terms, whenever the event is generated, the event need to be handled by corresponding event handling mechanism. The corresponding method need to be invoked internally and it's supposed to perform the action. It is need to handle that event. So this implementing an event handler majorly require a three piece of code. First one, event handler that implements a listener interface. That is, the action listener is an event handler here. It listens to any of the event occurred in any of the component and performs the action required. Next one, Next step is to registration of the instance of the event handler class as a listener. Listener needs to register with the source object so that the listener can receive the event notification. Next, this is done by using the statement component dot add action listener, and here instance of the class will be passed as an argument. Next step, the code that implements the method of the listener interface need to be invoked. That is the event handler that is called when the button press event has occurred. See, after that the action what is need to be performed will be called internally. So whenever the event is occurred, these three different steps need to be processed. First step is event handler need to be implements the listener interface. What's supposed to be action, what need to be performed need to be implemented. Next, it has to be registered to the instance of the event handler class. Next, the code, whatever the action it need to be performed is need to be specified. If we look into very simple example here, button click example, like if we click on this button, click me, then the background color need to be changed. So here click operation, mouse click is an event, and the corresponding action listener will be triggered, and then the event it is supposed to perform or action need to be performed is setting the background color. So button click example is the class name which extends JFrame implements the action listener. First step is done. Here the button is created, J button, and the string it need to pass is click me. And here button click example is the corresponding constructor where there's all the next action listener is registered with this object with the button object. So we have created the instantiation of this object, and we are setting the layout and adding this button onto the layout and setting the visibility to true. And next, the major action what it is supposed to be performed is written in this function, that is the set background color to cyan. Whenever the action event is triggered, it need to perform this operation with respect to the button object. And finally, here the object of the constructor is called in the main function. This is one simple example how we can write a simple code to handle the event. If we look one more example here, this is the example which is discussed in the textbook. Here two buttons are created by the name alpha and beta. Whenever the alpha is clicked, it need to display the statement as alpha was pressed. When beta button is pressed, the beta was pressed is the label it need to be displayed. This is the functionality. How we can write the code. If you look into the code, first event demo is the class name. Here we have created the label object by the name JLabel, and event demo is the constructor it is created. First we have to create the JFrame. So JFrame is created with the object name JFRM, and then the layout here it is set as a flow layout. By explicitly we can set the layout or we can use the default layout as well. So the frame size is set to 220, 90, and then what is action it is supposed to do when the user click on the close button. Then here the new buttons are added with the J button component here. So J button is a component and the object is created with the name of the button as alpha and beta. And next part is to add the action listener for the both the buttons. First the object whatever it is created for the button J button alpha, and then it is adding the action listener, and here itself it creates the object for that action listener and what it is supposed to perform. Here action performed is internally it will call the action event, that is AE is the object what we here is called. So what it is supposed to do, the J label it need to called internally when it is calling the action listener. It is clubbed together and it is written what is the action need to be performed when compared to the previous example program. Here alpha was pressed is the text that need to be displayed. Next here coming to the second part, the same way here it is implemented with the beta button, and the next step is we are adding the there's two buttons onto the frame, and the label is created, press a button, and then there's one more J label, whichever it is newly created is added onto the frame, and finally we are setting the form to the visible state. And here instead of following the main thread, here we are event dispatching thread is created by using the function called as invoke later or method called as invoke later, as we discussed in the previous example. And internally in the code it will once again call the create the object for the constructor event demo. This is how we can simply build a like events to any of the objects. Here for the button we have created the event. So alpha was pressed is the mouse click is the event, button click is the event, and the action it is displaying is alpha was pressed is the label it is getting displayed. So this is what we see as a event handling in swings. So here in the previous step, these are the three steps that we need to follow. As a summary, first we have to declare the class that implements the listener, action listener, and then we have to register an instance of this class with the event source, and then what is the action it is supposed to perform. In simple terms, first we have to implement the listener interface. Then we have to register to which instance of the class that event need to be performed. And next, what is the event it need to occur. These are the three steps need to be followed to handle any of the event. Next, if we look into the hierarchy of this Java Swing API, we have already looked in the last session. Here it will be container and J component. Now we will look into these different J component what we are can see under Swing. What are the different Swing component? First we can say J button, J checkbox, combo boxes, label, list. These are all called as a Swing components. These are all defined under Java X.Swing. These comes under J component. Just as a recall, here component is a like independent visual control. What we can see has a label, text field. These we call it as a component. Container is a what we hold the group of components. We call it as a container. First, when we want to build any of the GUI, first we have to build a container. That may be like JFrame, or we may create the panel. After that, only we can add the internal components to that, which may be like buttons or labels, anything. First, we will see what is meant by this JLabel class, what and all it is defined, as well as image icon how we can add. JLabel is used to create a label. This label will be the simple text that is displayed on the output, like on the window, and it does not able to perform any operation. Like user cannot able to perform any operation by clicking on the label. These are all a passive component. The methods or the constructors that are defined under JLabel are JLabel with the icon can be passed. This icon refers to any of the image or anything that we can pass to this JLabel, or as we saw previously, we can pass any string to that, or we can just call the JLabel. Just it will create the label, and then one more way which we may able to pass the string and then the image icon as well as the integer. Here integer refers to where the location of that label will be, whether it is left, center, right, or to the left. And then we are can able to set the text to this label even after adding the label. That we can perform by using the method set text, or string the current text whatever it is present in the label can be obtained by using string get text method. And one more here, we can also add the set icon, the current icon whatever it is there, we can able to set it as well as get it by using the get icon function. So these are all the different methods that we can use along with the JLabel class of the swing. So here these two are for setting, whereas strings with respect to, these are all with respect to icon. Next, if we see what is that image icon. Suppose this is a special feature which is available in the swing. Along with the inserting label, if we want to add the labels, or suppose if we want to add the image to the button, these can be possible by using the class or the method called as a image icon. So here this icon are specified by object of the type icon, which act as an interface defined by the swings. So image icon is a class which need to be used. So here we can pass a file name where the image exists, that is the path or the actual file name of the image which need to be displayed, and then we can add it as a parameter. If we see it as one example here, first we have imported the package and image icon example which extends the JFrame class. So this act as a parent class, and then the main inside the main function here JFrame is a frame, it is getting created with the title as image icon example, and the image icon is a one more component that we component that we have created with the file name passed as a name of the image that need to be displayed, small frog.jpg, and the object it is created as a icon, and this icon whatever the object it is created will be passed as an argument to the newly created J button. So whenever the button is getting displayed, along with that button, this image whichever we have passed by the object icon will also be displayed. And finally, these two steps will add the button as well as frame onto the this frame and button to the final display, and visibility will be set to true. So we'll see the example together. Next, what is meant by a text field? Text field is an input area where the user can type any character, which will allow for the user to enter some information. So the corresponding component which is given by the swing is JText component. Here it will allow to edit or display the single line of text information. Whenever the user enters some data inside that, some text, and if the user presses enter key, then it will act as an action event occur. The event is created, caret event will be generated for each of the cursor, whatever it is entered in that, and then the corresponding event listener will be called. So here the set of method or the constructor defined under this action, JText components are, one is JText field. It will create the JText field, and here which may take some string along with that. That is when it generates the text, along with that it will print the string as well. And one more method, string, as well as it will place this text field in a particular location, maybe in the middle or in the left or in the right. So, or one more is initial text, what it is supposed to be displayed. And in here is what is the width it is supposed to be displayed. And one more, here whatever the initial set text need to be set onto the this text field, that can also be done later in the later part by using this set text method. Or the current content, whatever it is present, can be obtained by using string get text method. And we'll see one simple Java login page to build by using the Swing application. If we see some of the example program here, we have already discussed event demo, and now we'll see how we can add some images as a icon image. So here the Java, we have imported the package, and then image icon is a class it is created, and the constructor here it is defined, and then the JFrame is created with the title as button example, and the new button is created. Along with that, the image icon is added onto it. It is also in a single step here it is performed. That is, the J button is created, along with that the image icon is added. In the previous example, we have just created this image icon separately, and then we try to add it. Here in the single step it is performed. So the name of the image is image.jpg. Extension is must here, and then we are trying to set some bound. What is this 4 parameter here indicates, that is x and y coordinate. Wherever the x and y coordinate intersection occurs, where the button will be created. And next 400 and 300 is width and height. Then this frame is this button is added onto the frame, and then setting the frame size to 800, 900. So next one more set of steps are done to create the image icon by passing the image to.jpg, and along with the label we want to display the image. We have already looked in as a constructor or the method under JLabel, which contains 3 parameters. One as a string, second one as a image icon, and third one as a where it is supposed to be displayed by referring it as a int parameter. So here JLabel need to be displayed in the center, and here we are passing image icon object, that is image2.jpg, and along with that it need to display the label swing. And here the bounds we are setting it as 300, 450, 400 and 500 to this second Java label 2, and we are adding to frame, and then the layout we have set it to null. We have not set any layout. Then this visibility is set to true, and the operation it's supposed to perform is when it closes, it exit, the program need to exit. And in the main, we are created the new object for the image icon constructor. If you run this program, this is what we have added as 2 images. One in the button I have added 1 image, that is image.jpg, and one more as a label I have added one more image. Along with that, string is need to be displayed, but it is overlapped. Next component we have discussed as a text field. What is meant by text field? It is just as a box kind structure what we can see it in a GUI, where it allow for the user to enter some text. So how we can perform? So first here JFrame is created and two text fields are defined by the object name T1 and T2. So here it displays the first one way is just we can create the text field without any strings in the beginning. Here very beginning we are getting the string as welcome to Swing hands-on session, and we have set some bounds or the location where this text need to be displayed onto the frame. That we have done it by using the function set bounds. And one more text field is defined by using the by printing the initial text as Swing demo, and the bound is set, and we have set the frame size, and these two texts are added onto the frame, and we are setting the visibility to true. So if we run the code, this here we could see the initial text whatever we have passed as a parameter to text field. Along with that, here we have another text field with the initial string whatever it is passed, which will allow for the user to enter some text. If the user hits enter key, then the event will be triggered. If you look into one of the example for text field event, here the packages are added. Along with that, one more package is added. New package we could see is import java.awt.event. That is here event related package is also added because we are building the event for the button click operation. Here text field implements action listener. We have created the action listener, and then we have created the text field names, objects name, and the button, and then here what it is constructor. Here it is defined with the initial setup of the frame it is need to be displayed, and what is the parameter, text field, all those, and J button is created with the plus as the initial display, and minus one more, and this here is note. Here B1 and B2 are the two buttons it is created, and action is created to these two. Action listener is added to these two buttons, and these all these are added onto the frame. And so here what is the action or the performed event, what it is supposed to trigger, that the event occurred, what is the action supposed to be performed is written in this function. Here get text, two text fields are defined, and then pass integer. The data need to be passed as an integer, and then here with the as an object it will get the data from the source, and if it is equivalent to B1 data, then it is performing the addition of the content A plus B. With these contents it will be performing the minus operation, and then it will be displaying the result back onto the text field 3. So if we run the code, here we could see a frame with the two text fields which will allow for the user to enter, and it is supposed to be integer, otherwise it will convert it into corresponding integer, and here two buttons are added, plus and minus, with corresponding event handling mechanism. Here when I click on the minus, the button will be triggered with operation it need to perform is difference it need to find out. If I press plus, the corresponding event will be triggered, and then event listener will be invoked internally and it will perform the operation. This is how even for the text field and to the buttons, especially for the buttons, we can able to add the event listeners action what it is supposed to perform. And there was one question it is asked here, build an Java login page by using the Swing application. How we can perform, as we know, when we build any of the application, first and foremost page that we need to create is login page, where it will contain a username and password labels along with the text field. So if we try to write it, we have to write a class, and then inside the main itself I have written all the parameters. I made it simple, and I have created very first the frame, and then two labels are created by the name, username and password, and these are added onto the frame, and then the size is set where it is supposed to be displayed location, and then the user text field and password fields are created, and two buttons, login and reset button, and along with that one more new parameter is added here, component is added by the name checkbox. We'll see that in detail what is this checkbox in upcoming session as well. Here checkbox will allow for the user to click yes or no option, 0 or 1. So, and along with that, for all these newly created component, the location is set and it is all added onto the frame. And finally, we are making the frame visible. If we run this code, we will get username as a label and text field, two text field with the two labels. And this is what we call it as a check boxes. And then here we have added two login and reset buttons. The action we have not added, just the interface is created. How we can make that password field as a password, or some actions, how we can add it, we'll see it in the upcoming sessions. So in this session, we majorly looked into three components: JLabel, JFrame, JFrame is a container, JLabel is a component, and then JTextField, and then along with that JButtons. In the upcoming session, we'll see this JButton in detail. Thank you.